shot to do what?
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by the Give Us a Shot Network. My brother in Christ, Martin Soares. The WNBA season starts on Tuesday. How are we feeling, man?
It's Tuesday, man. Feeling great. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. We got some great matchups going to talk about tonight. So, anyone watching live, thanks for tuning in with us. Obviously, if you don't like women's basketball, this is not the place for you. So if you're here, that means you're here to tap into some women's basketball. Definitely going to tap into a lot of all WNBA talk tonight. It's going to be, we should have some fun for sure.
Do you remember, have you ever seen the movie Norbit?
I have not seen Norbit. Eddie Murphy, right? Murphy.
So
no,
there's a scene in Norbit where Norbit's in the shower and he's singing Tuesday because he's got a date with like this friend from when he was younger. And he's like, Tuesday. And his wife Rasputia goes, you keep saying it's Tuesday, I won't stop you to Wednesday. That's how I'm feeling right now. I'm really excited for Tuesday. Before we jump into the show, I do want to just talk about something real quick. And Martin brought this to my attention a couple hours ago when I was coming back from getting the suit altered, which is always a fun experience for me. Germ, one half of Stuff About Sports. Shout out Bert and Germ. They did their episode of their newest episode of the show last night. It was an all women's basketball show, I think. I don't know, but they were reacting to the WNBA now having chartered flights, and Germ mentioned once again that I hate Caitlin.
Germ is part of the network. Like for anyone who may not know, Jake Germ.
Right. Sorry, Germ is a part of the network. Stuff About Sports, great show, great network. I love Germ. I think Germ is great. Germ is amazing. He's my guy. And he mentioned last night that like I hate Caitlin Clark again. And he was talking about how if it weren't for he was saying like Caitlin Clark said one thing about commercial flights and now charter flights with WNBA. I just want to say real quick, just for the record, again, I don't hate Caitlin Clark. I don't know how I got lumped into this Caitlin Clark haters thing. This all started because a couple months ago when Martin and I reacted to Cheryl Swoops talking about Caitlin Clark, I said I think Caitlin Clark is an exceptional basketball player. I think she's a generational talent. I think she'll have an amazing WNBA career. But all I said was I don't think that she's going to show up on the first day of her WNBA career and just be the best player ever and be the greatest thing since sliced bread and be an MVP candidate and all this other stuff. All the things that all the Caitlin Clark fans have been saying from the moment really the college season started. And ever since then, I've just been labeled as a Caitlin Clark hater by Mr. Jerm Edwards. So I just kind of wanted to say, like, bro, like I know that I was supposed to be on Stuff About Sports the other day. I'm sorry, it's finals week. I had a lot to do, so I missed it. My bad. I'm not a hater, bro. I'm just realistic. I feel like I'm just being reasonable. Look at this. Here he is right here. Where are you? In the firehouse? Where are you at?
Oh, well,
Where are you at?
the firehouse.
Are you in the firehouse? Where are you at? Are you at home? What are you doing?
You just displayed the characteristics of someone who hates Caitlin.
This is ridiculous. Where are you at, man? Are you in the firehouse? Or are you at home? What are you doing?
That is hilarious.
There we go. He's at the firehouse. Shout out Mike Hughes as well.
I mean, it's also time to celebrate because we've got chartered flights and a new WNBA team, Toronto, more expansion, more teams. It's an exciting time, obviously. With the season coming up for sure.
There's a lot to talk about, and again, season starts on Tuesday. There's so much to talk about. We're going to talk about duos, top 10 players. Martin talk about matchups. I'm going to jump into some storylines right after the intro and a bunch of other stuff. So stay tuned for all of that stuff next.
Give them a shot to do what?
So real quick, on the Caitlin Clark thing too, because I do spend the majority of my time editing content and going through my content, other people's content, and usually in an editing rabbit hole looking at all my stuff. Sending over, I sometimes I forget what I send or what I don't, but I know I sent you a clip. I think I sent you a clip from one of our episodes. It might have been after we were talking about Caitlyn, but in that it was in the same episode when we were responding to the Cheryl Swoops comments, and I did have to catch you a couple times because where I think you might have dipped into where people thought you were showing Caitlin Clark hate was when you said she's not going to be the number one option. She's not going to be a top 10, top 15 player. She's not going to be.
I don't think
you went in a little bit. You did go in a little bit, and I was trying to say, oh well.
We're about to rank. I mean, we're about to rank top 10 players in a second here. Are we? But Caitlin Clark's not in your top 10.
Caitlin Clark is not in my top 10 in the WNBA right now.
Yeah,
she hasn't played a WNBA game yet.
That's all I was saying. That's all my entire position.
And that was your main point. That was the main thing that we were both saying is that
if you want to have this conversation after a full WNBA season,
or in 2 months, or just in
in a couple months, you're not going to sit here and tell me we responded to the comments, right? You got people saying she's going to have the highest IQ in the league day one. She'll be the best.
That was the main stuff I know you were responding to, but I think just again watching back and listening back, I remember you were like, she's not. I'm like, whoa, she actually she might average 20 a game. She might. We don't know. It all depends, but she may do some of these things. Like we gotta wait and see.
Germ's also the ultimate troll. I say that all the time, and then he always finds a way to suck me into his nonsense.
Caitlin Clark over Tobias Harris.
It's the worst. All right.
You gotta love that stuff, though. That's great.
All right. Let's get into some storylines. There are 5 things to me, and there are 5 things to me that I think are sticking out the most about this season as we get ready for the season on Tuesday. And so I'm gonna drop them off from 5 to 1, and of course get Martin's thoughts after them. At number,
you got the same as me because I got 5. I got 5 right here too. I think they're pretty obvious, but you go ahead.
At number 5 for me, I think that one of the biggest storylines heading into the season is that the WNBA is just continuing to grow. Right, we're talking about probably the most highly anticipated season ever. Obviously, we got the news a couple days ago that charter flights are on the way. This season we obviously got news. I think earlier, like in the wee hours of the morning, around 6 o'clock this morning, that another team is join the WNBA this time in Toronto. So now we know like the WNBA is headed to the Bay next
Toronto
year.
needs to win right now, don't they?
They do. They do.
Toronto could use
Toronto's down bad right now, bro. Toronto's down bad right now.
Big fans, I'm sorry.
But yeah, Toronto, you got the team at Toronto, and just the continued growth of the game, both on the floor, off the floor. I think it's great. That's one of my biggest storylines. Number 4. I think it's very possible that we are officially entered, if we haven't already. I think this season will be the beginning of the Big 3 era in the WNBA, right? When you look across the entire league and look at all the moves that were made across the course of the offseason, right? You talk about Skylar Diggins-Smith and NECA going to Seattle, right? You talk about obviously what's there in Vegas, obviously who they have already in New York. You're already talking about a Big 3 in Connecticut, right? You're talking about kind of a Big 3 in Dallas, right? Like it seems like every team in the league, almost every team that is looking to compete for a championship, Phoenix, right? Minnesota, like every team that's looking to compete for a championship potentially has a Big 3. Might not be like a really big like box office Big 3, but they might have like a mini Big 3 type of thing. I do think that this is going to be the beginning of the Big 3 era. And going back to when Trash Frank was on the show and how he said that this season will be a bloodbath, that's going to make this season a bloodbath and it's going to make it super exciting. So a lot of the excitement going into this season is the fact that I think that this is the beginning of the Big 3 era. And I don't think that's going anywhere, right? Not just because we're getting 2 more teams in the next 2 years, but also just because I think that's where we're at right now. We talked a couple months ago about how the Aces, everyone's going to try to match the Aces formula to stop them and win a championship. The Aces have 4 really, really good players in their starting rotation. You're going to need at least 3 and some really good depth and support behind those 3 to be able to have a chance to stop them. So I do think that this is the beginning of the Big 3 era. Number 3, plain and simple, we are welcoming a new generation of WNBA talent and potential superstars in this year's draft class, right? I thought this was really cool. It was mentioned leading up to the draft. I think it was mentioned again during the draft broadcast. This year's draft class, Martin, is the first WNBA draft class ever that from the moment they were born knew that the WNBA existed and that an opportunity for them to be a professional basketball player in the WNBA was a possibility. We're talking Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Rickea Jackson, Cameron Brink. So many amazingly talented ladies, young ladies in this game. We're welcoming a new generation of versatility, of shooting, of passing, of defense, all that stuff. And they're not just superstars on the floor, they're superstars off the floor as well. I'm super excited about that. Number two, we kind of talked about it. I was just talking about Caitlin Clark. Will Caitlin's game translate, right? She played great in 2 preseason games, right? She's going to have an amazing season this season, likely will be the rookie of the year unless something crazy happens. And I think that's like the big thing for a lot of people, whether you are a Caitlin Clark fan and you're hoping that in a couple months you can pull up that Cheryl Swoops clip and kind of prove her wrong type thing, or whether you're just a fan of the game. You want to see if Caitlin Clark can go from being the lights out prolific superstar she was in Iowa to being a lights out prolific superstar in Indiana. I think there's only one thing that is a bigger storyline than that, and all of this kind of feeds into it. It's who's stopping Vegas, right? The Las Vegas Aces, they're back-to-back champs. They're looking to do something that hasn't been done since the Comets did it in the first 4 seasons of the WNBA existing, and that's win 3 championships in a row. Kind of took a hit to that hope, obviously, because Candace Parker retired last weekend, and we all kind of talked about, man, Candace Parker comes back healthy for the Aces. I mean, you might as well just go ahead and write their name on the trophy now. That's not happening. So now leaves the door open a little bit, maybe a little bit open, slightly more open than it was before. Everything and everything going into the season is all about, can someone stop the Aces from three-peating for the first time since the Comets did it in the 90s? That is the biggest storyline heading into Tuesday. Of course, these things ebbs and flow. To steal a word from Stephen A. Smith, these things are fluid. Throughout the course of the season, we'll be revisiting these things to see how those things changes. But those are my 5. Who's stopping Vegas? Caitlin Clark, the new generation of basketball, the Big 3 era, and just loving that the WNBA is continuing to grow heading into the season.
Yeah, that's I think you're spot on. What I had down was like pretty similar to that, pretty close to that. I definitely had Caitlin and the Ace. I mean, I think the Aces three-peat is the big storyline throughout this whole season, which ties into your Big 3. See, I put Seattle and Phoenix as 2 separate storylines, and I've got some more to say about each of them as we get into the show a little bit more, but yeah. I think they're each, and they both have Big 3s, as you mentioned. Every serious championship contender right now has a legitimate Big 3. And Seattle and Phoenix, I just had them down as separate storylines. I also just put down Angel Reese as a storyline. I just think the start that she's off to, having gone to the Met Gala, and the fact that she's played well in preseason, even with Camila going down and being hurt, I think her usage might be up a little bit more than it might have been before. So I just think she's off to a good start, and we're seeing the attention, the fandom, like, not to compare it to Caitlin, but it's like Angel Reese is a superstar in her own right as well, and you're seeing Absolutely. That already. And I think on the floor, people are seeing what she can do, and I think it's only going to get better. So I just think people are interested in Angel Reese as well. So when I just think about the storyline, like that's one that I had down as well.
Maximizing that 24 hours, man. Went to the Met Gala in New York, came back home against Chicago, beat up on the New York Liberty. That was a crazy game, by the way.
Chicago, man. Yo, Chicago. They're looking all right.
and shout out Coach Spoon getting the tech in preseason, man. Love that.
Just my God.
The passion. Preseason or not, bro. Like she's bringing the heat, man. I love it.
That was crazy. Man. They're gonna be competitive, man.
Absolutely. So we're talking obviously about the season tipping off on Tuesday. An amazing slate of games from tip off on Tuesday until next Saturday. Martin, what are some games in opening week, not just on Tuesday, but just throughout the course of next week that you have a keen eye
on? Definitely looking forward to seeing, like, I know Fever, Indiana, Connecticut opening night on Tuesday is obviously a big one for seeing Caitlin, and I'll be watching. I want to see that. But honestly, the late game, the West Coast game, Phoenix and Vegas, I'm really – Phoenix is like the team that I really Phoenix and Seattle. I mean, honestly, they're the two new like kind of powerhouse teams that were formed in the West. So I'm really just interested to see how they look. But yeah, definitely Phoenix and Vegas. Like I want to see like right away. I want to see how what Phoenix has put together kind of stacks up against Vegas, and it's definitely all about Caitlin Clark, please fix it. Exactly. No, but I think that what's interesting about Phoenix is that, and why I had them down as one of the most interesting storylines is because of what they put together, and people are looking to see what their chemistry is going to look like.
Yeah.
The Kalia Copper and Sophie Cunningham thing, their little history and whatnot, and of course they're all saying the right things, and they seem to be getting along. I was watching some of their media day earlier, and Kalia said that they seem to really be taking to each other, at least off the court.
Yes.
So, I mean, I look forward to seeing, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is that Kalia Copper is technically their best player. And like we're going to talk about duos in a little bit, and it's hard to even identify duos on some of these teams because some teams have big fours technically. So it can be hard to pick out duos on certain rosters because it's like we don't have duos. To your point, we have big threes. Some teams have big fours. So with Phoenix, like that combination of talent, I'm really interested to see how that meshes, because if it goes well, if it looks good, if it comes together, that can be special. But I think the main thing I'm watching for is to see how, Diana, Brittany, how everyone is treating Kalia Copper specifically. And because she's going to do her job, she's going to compete. She's going to do things on both ends that's going to contribute to winning basketball either way. It's not like they need to treat her as the best player, but technically she kind of is. She was the only one who was top 10 in scoring last season. Yep. So they need to treat her as such, and they're only going to benefit from it. So, but I'm really interested in Phoenix. So seeing them against the Aces on Tuesday night is going to be big for me. I can't wait to see Angel go up against Dallas on Wednesday, even though we have no Satu the first like half of the season because she's hurt. And then Saturday, definitely, I'm more looking forward to seeing Caitlin against the Liberty in that Saturday matchup in the afternoon.
And they're gonna be in New York. That's gonna be nuts, bro.
That's the game that I definitely have circled. I can't wait for that. And then on that Saturday too, I can't wait to see Sparks Aces. I want to see, even though we don't expect much from the Sparks, I still want to see. I want to see what Rakia and Cam and that what Kurt Miller is doing with that group, because they still have some players, they still have some depth. So I want to see what LA is able to do. But it's obviously about the Aces. So I really want to see how the Aces are looking. Phoenix and Seattle. I didn't say Seattle, but I'm definitely going to be watching Seattle because I want to see how they look too. And then obviously Caitlin and Angel in Indiana and Chicago.
I love the thing I love about opening week is there are 3 games that are happening twice in the same week. The Lynx are playing the Storm on Tuesday and Friday. The Sky are playing the Wings on Wednesday and Saturday. The Liberty are playing the Fever on Thursday and Saturday. So like that's going to be fun just in and of itself. The games I'm looking forward to the most are the Sky Wing games. To your point, Camilla out for the first couple weeks of the season, probably a month and a half on the high end because of the shoulder. So Angel Reese going to get a lot of usage in these first couple weeks of the season, going up against a team in Dallas that is down Satu because of a shoulder injury as well. To your point, still very stout down low. Like it's going to be nice to see her go up against Natasha Howard, namely. Obviously, they have Kalani Brown and Tierra McCowan. Those are going to be all 3 of those potential matchups throughout the course of the game are going to be super exciting to watch both times. I'm also very excited to see the Storm play together at home. This big 3, NECA, Skylar, Jewel, against a really good Minnesota team. A Minnesota team that could make a run this year. I think matchup-wise, that's a really good one. You're talking about Nafisa Collier, Diamond Miller. Obviously, they just brought in Alyssa Peely. There's something there in Minnesota, and their first
Courtney Williams.
Picked up Courtney Williams as well. which I believe it was Diamond Miller that during their media day was just expressed her extreme gratitude for that, just having a vet point guard in the locker room and what that means. Seeing the Storm play the Lynx, I think would be great. But the one that I'm the one that I'm most looking forward to has to be Fever Sun, simply because not only is it Caitlin Clark's first official WNBA game, it's her regular season debut. It's also going to be a regular season debut against a very physical, very stout Connecticut Sun team. And all the jokes have come out over the course of Twitter all off season long, from the moment she announced she was getting drafted until now. Like, that first game for Connecticut, she's going to get that welcome to the league moment. If she's going to get it. And it's going to be tough, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
So let's talk about let's talk about the scenario, because we're mainly talking about Alyssa Thomas.
Yes.
So we're looking at a situation where going to the basket, I'm sure I could see AT giving her a check. She's gonna feel her going to the basket.
Yeah.
If we're looking at a switch situation, AT might have to watch herself, because Caitlin is starting to look like she's a little slippery out there. Her light is very green. So if they switch off, and AT is an all-world defender. Absolutely. She can defend on the perimeter. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if that's the case, she may want to be on her P's and Q's, because you don't want to play. Just make her drive. Make her drive it. Hope you have help. Don't play around, because I don't know.
Yeah, Natasha Howard looking silly the other day out there. On the
yeah. They're probably, I mean, off those screens, like, and if I've watched Indiana most of their couple preseason games. They're running Caitlin off a lot of, giving her a lot of good, off-screen action with the ball and off the ball, a lot of dribble handoff stuff, two-man game stuff. So, defending that on Connecticut side, Alyssa Thomas is going to be, the helper or the checker or the hedger on a lot of those actions. So, yeah, you'll definitely see her looking to have, Caitlin feel her for sure. So that will be interesting. I mean, that's going to be great to watch.
Caitlin's going to get a good one. She's going to get one good one when she drives. Just one.
She definitely is. It's just at least that gravity, man. The deeper she pulls you back, the more you gotta kind of watch yourself.
Yeah. And just like a cherry on top for me, Atlanta and LA, just two young teams, obviously much different positions, right? Atlanta, a playoff team, LA not, but two really good. Well, LA potentially good, but a really good young team in Atlanta. A potentially good young team in LA, obviously with all the new moving parts. They do have, pieces. That one's just going to be interesting. That's the late game on Wednesday as well. So, but that's like a cherry on top. But the one I'm most looking forward to, though, like I said, Storm and Lynx, both of them, I think are going to be good games. Let's toss it very quickly to a clip previously talking about duos before we get into ranking our duos.
For them to pair a South Carolina and an LSU. If you know anything about women's basketball Twitter, you know that these fan bases have not been friendly over the last couple of years. So the fact that they have a chance, like, there's the whole discourse about converting these college fans to the W, right? Yeah. To make this deliberate move, to have two of the biggest brands who were also like rivals pretty much, to pair Camilla and Angel together, and not even getting to I'm not even talking about the basketball yet. Just the fan bases, again, with that conversion, that's actually a cheat code that they put in by getting the two of them together. It's like, come on, LSU fans, Bayou Barbie fans, come on, South Carolina fans, Camilla fans, let's team up, and then you guys can both root for the Chicago Sky going forward. We just handpicked for you your WNBA team going forward if you didn't have one already. Angel and Camilla, man, that's a duo we won't even get to see for at least another month.
Yeah. That's gonna be a good one though, because that'll be and you know what? You know what the scary thing about that is? Angel obviously is gonna be comfortable by 6 weeks, right? She's gonna have gone through a couple, not more than a couple of tough matchups in the first 6 weeks, while Camilla is getting better from that shoulder, and then Camilla's gonna come in. And she's going to get to, Angel's going to be comfortable. The other players going to be comfortable. She's going to get to come in and she's going to get her comfort. Like that, again, obviously sad that Camilla won't be ready, for game one, but to be able to come in and you have your partner in crime down low, and Angel Reese will be kind of feeling it and then feeling really good. She would got her footing under herself to be able to come in next to that and then establish herself while she's already kind of, on the other side of that will make that when they both hit their stride and they're in their stride together down the stretch of the season, that will make them even more exciting to watch than like what we're already super excited to see them. I was thinking about that when that clip was playing. That's big. That's huge. But Martin Stories, my brother in Christ, give it to me. Who are your top 5 duos in the WNBA this season?
So I think that first off, I think we have some work to do first, because the Aces clearly have a combination of maybe the top 3 or 4 duos in the league, depending on how you mix them. So
yeah.
I
just
want to pose to you. Let's stay with the Aces. Let's just talk about the Aces duos real quick. Can we do that? Because that's what I wanted to do. I put down my 2 favorite combinations, and so not to
Both
sorry
of them
to
in your top 5,
but I put together my 2 favorite duo combinations from the Aces.
Okay. Yeah.
So think about your favorites while I tell you mine. So think through it, because I know we didn't really talk about this, but my 2 favorite duo combinations would be Chelsea and Asia. So I have point guard. Someone's got to get Asia the ball. So I'll go point guard and power forward, Chelsea and Asia. And then I'll just take the 2 guard combination, Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young. So those would be my 2 duos that I take out from the big 4 Aces. Where would you go with it?
Very interesting, because
I was thinking of going Kelsey Plum and Asia, the lefty combo. But again, I'd rather get the point guard in there, get Chelsea in there. Someone's got to get her the ball. Kelsey and Jackie, I feel like it covers all bases. I get my guard tandem.
Yeah,
I get everything between the 2 of them, and you could go different ways with it, but those are my 2 preferences.
I'm 100% with you on Asia and Chelsea, because again, we talked about this with Kiki transferring, Kiki Ariapin transferring to USC. Like the best possible combination is the elite guard with the elite big. I just, on that same line of thinking, for me, the second duo of the 4 that you would make, I think that I like the most is Jackie and Asia Wilson. Yeah, that's the one for me. And Jackie and Kelsey would be like that third one. And the only reason why is, again, still going off of the guard big thing. Obviously, Jackie Young, not the level of passer that a Chelsea Gray is, right? But to your point, she can do a little bit of everything, right? She can pass, she can score, she can create her own shot. She can also get the ball down low to Asia. And she's really good on the defensive side of the ball as well. So from both sides of the ball standpoint, that those 2 together as a duo, that is the best defensive duo that you could make of the 4. And then Asia and Chelsea's the best offensive duo, I think, that you would have of the 4. So that's kind of what my thinking was. That's interesting. I didn't think about and we've seen Jackie and Kelsey on the floor together, of course, just like with just them 2, with Chelsea and Asia.
Yeah. And the way I see it is give me Kelsey and Jackie. I could place them on a team and have them be and I could build a championship around the 2 of them. If I have a couple good, I get a good big and another good swing wing player forward, those 2 guards. Those are 2 elite guards. Those are 2 top 10 players, top 10. So. Yeah, that's me being a guard. I'm like, okay, let me pluck out the 2 scoring kind of all around guards or whatever out of there. So that was interesting to me, just looking at the duos coming out of the Aces, because you could just do a thing on that. So after the Aces duos, my next duo is Alyssa Thomas and Dewana Bonner. Have to give respect to them. I have to give respect to them. They give me everything between the 2 of them. Toughness, competitiveness, offense, defense. Dewana handles the shooting, aspect coming from outside. And we know what AT does in all aspects as a passer, playmaker. So I have to give them their respect. I feel like AT and Dewana Bonner is the kind of duo that can rival anybody. And we've seen it. We've seen them, go up against anybody, and we know what they can do. After that, you know, it got kind of tough because I can't say Angel and Camilla because Camilla's out.
Yeah.
I want to say Arike and Satu based on last season, but Satu is out right now. So if I'm saying, you know, top 5 duos right now, I don't know. Skylar and Jewel, I don't know if I can, they haven't played yet together. We haven't seen it yet. So I want to say them, but I don't know if I should even count them. So then I feel like I'm left with, not to say I'm left with, but I still have them down. I'm going to say Stewie and John Quell. Not Sabrina and Stewie. Stewie and John Quell. To me, I think that's about that for me. That's, I would say them as a duo. And then I'm gonna say Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray in Atlanta. I honorable mention for me was Caitlin and Aaliyah.
Sure.
And like I said, I wanted to say Angel and Camilla. I feel like Angel and Camilla could have a case, but again, they're rookies too, so you haven't seen them. So it's tough based on who we've seen, who we haven't seen, who's hurt. Like, you know, it's tough. So that's where I'm at with it. I definitely have AT and Dewana Bonner, Arike and Satu, you know, when healthy, Stewie and John Quell. And then like I expect Skylar and Jewel Lloyd to be a top duo. And then I would slip Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray in there.
That's very interesting. Because the two duos that you have that I don't have on my list are my 6 and 7. Like and the reason why is because I probably should have. I did not factor in Satu's injury into this, and I didn't factor into the fact that, you know, Skylar hasn't been playing basketball in about a year. I just looked at it and I was like, we're looking at 5 duos. The way that I looked at it, and if you take those 2 out, then we have the exact same duos in the top 5. There'd be some slight adjustments, but we have the exact same duos in the top 5. So my number 1 is Asia Wilson and Chelsea Gray. You have the best player in the league, the best point guard in the league. I think that's undeniably number 1. Number 2 for me, I have Stewie and John Quo Jones. I obviously Stewie. If you don't want to say she's just number 2, if you want to say she's 1B to Asia's 1A, like whatever, she's up there. And John Quo Jones, we as like a fandom, as like media, all that stuff, like it took, and a part of this was because of what was going on in the season, but it took us until after the All-Star break to really look at John Quo Jones and be like, yeah, like she's the second best player on this team. Like, I know that going into it, it was like you said, it was like Sabrina and Brown. I was like, no. Like, if we learn anything from that playoff run and post All-Star break last season, it's Stewie, it's John Quo Jones. And to just sidebar for a second, depending on what's happening in a game, sometimes you can look at that. You can look at the Liberty, and again, you talk about big fours. It's Stewie, it's John Quell, it's Betnijah Laney, it's Sabrina. Sometimes you look at that team, and depending on the matchup, depending on how the night is going, sometimes the best 4 players on that team are in that order: Stewie, John Quell Jones, Betnijah Laney, Sabrina Ionescu. Sabrina has moments when she's, you know, leading all scores. She has her moments when she's second best behind Stewie. But I think if you look at the course of last season, I think, and especially into the playoffs, by and large, for me, I look at Stewie, John Quell Jones, Betnijah Laney, Sabrina Ionescu in that order on that team right now. Just a quick sidebar. Number 3,
and a quick sidebar just to add to that too.
Yeah.
Sabrina Ionescu, this is a big season for her. Like, this is
100%.
a big season for you, sis. It's time, like you should be well aware of not just very reasonable limitations and criticisms, but of the fact that people are challenging who, you know, forget about the face of the league stuff and all that, but just challenging if you're even an elite player in the league right now. And you have to be well aware of that. And I'm looking for, and more important than that, that was the biggest limitation to them not being able to compete with the Las Vegas Aces. It was the guard play. And I mean, we know that not any team has really the depth of talent of guard play that the Las Vegas Aces have, but you need at least one elite guard to be playing elite basketball to be able to compete with the Aces. And Sabrina was just not that for them. And she has the potential. She's earned the title of like best shooter in the league, best 3-point shooter in the league. She's got that. Maybe Caitlin's gonna come for her on that this year. We'll see. But she's earned that so far. But she might need to become a little bit more than that if the New York Liberty are going to ascend and really get over the hump and be able to actually realistically challenge the Las Vegas Aces. Because the East might be the Liberties, but as far as challenging the Aces, they need a guard to step up and be elite in order to challenge what they got going on in Vegas. So Sabrina, this is a big season. Sabrina's one of my like top 3 or 4 players who was like, yo, you need to show people who you are this year, more than just like knocking down threes and showing you can hit 5, 6 3. More than that, like you need to show what kind of like overall player and competitor you are right now.
And I wouldn't even say it's maybe. I think when you look back at that series, right, Kia Stokes gets hurt and then Chelsea Gray gets hurt. And that advantage of the 3-headed march in the backcourt goes away because now it's just Jackie and now it's just Kelsey. No disrespect to either of them, but they are not the level of passer, facilitator, on-court IQ that Chelsea Gray is, obviously. So you go into that game 4, mind you, you're at home. And that is a game that you look at and you can really take. We talk a lot about momentum in the playoffs. That's a game that Liberty win that game, they likely win the season. I don't care that the series is going back to Vegas. That doesn't matter. The Aces lose 2 really good players, including their second best player on the team. And then Sabrina, I think game. And when Lauren was on the show, we talked about how I thought that everything leading up to game 4 had everything of a legacy game for A'ja Wilson, right? And we got that. But if you want to go on the other side and say that everything leading into game 4 was also huge and really telling of what the legacy of Sabrina Ionescu would have been, you could have made that argument as well, because Stewie was playing great the entire run, right? I talked about what Jonquel was doing from the All-Star break, but Nigel Laney, she had her moments where she was kind of but she was also playing really good ball. Like, of the 4, Sabrina was just very, very streaky. So, like, I agree with you 100%. I don't think it's a Mike thing. Like, if the Liberty want to get back to the finals, I don't think it'll be necessarily difficult. I do think there are 2 teams in the Sun and the Dream that could possibly get in their way potentially if they have to cross paths in the playoffs. But I think they can get there. But if Sabrina Ionescu this season, if they're in the finals, does what she did last season in the finals, Liberty might never beat the Aces. Because she can't.
That goes without saying. She has to be better than she was last year. She was bad. Stewie was bad in the finals too. Stewie wasn't that good in the whole run. Stewie wasn't good either. But the Liberty's fate is right now tied to Sabrina Ionescu, I fear, and that's who they really. Stewie had an MVP season last year. They got one of the best seasons of Stewie, and I expect her to be great again this year. They need Jonquel to hold up and be healthy. The GM literally said that Jonquel is their best player when healthy and most important. I think he said most important player.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, again, you spoke to what her impact, her effect in the playoff, in the postseason. You really got to see where her impact was. But yeah, going back to duos though, what you were going through your duos.
So A'ja and Chelsea are 1, Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones are 2. For me, I have Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner at 3 for all the reasons that you mentioned. I think they're 3. And then for me, I did include Arike and Satu. They're my 4. Okay. I really, again, going back to an elite guard, an elite post, I think that they are obviously, once Satu comes back and as they continue to play together, they are going to become one of the better guard post duos that, I mean, they already are, but they're going to stamp themselves as one of the more elite guard post duos that we've seen in the league, especially as Satu.
Did you say Arike and Satu?
Yeah.
Would you call Satu a post?
No. So we've talked about this before. I'm actually glad you just brought this up. So no, Satu is not a post player. But I do think because of the way that they play because of the way that they play in Dallas, they treat her like a post. But no, Satu is not a post.
But I mean, forward though. She's forward, right? Like,
yes, she's a forward. Yes,
I think of them as like a guard wing.
Yeah, that's probably a better description of it. Yeah. I look at the way that I look at the way that they have them situated in Dallas, and I think it's great. It works for them. Satu plays a lot of. She plays on the. She is not a post, but they play her on the post a lot because they like to play small.
Yeah.
They like to play small, and especially when they're playing small, they definitely put
can
no,
post up.
Satu is not a. But no, Satu is not a post player. No, but just in the dynamic of the Dallas Wings, I think they treat her like that sometimes, and it works for them. It works for them.
Yeah, just take the correction and
right,
I got you, bro. Don't worry, I got you.
And then 5, I have Jewel Lloyd and Skylar Diggins-Smith. Jewel Lloyd was the scoring champion last season. Skylar Diggins-Smith, we talked about this when she came back, or when it was announced she's going to Seattle. This isn't just any Skylar Diggins-Smith, bro. Like, she's back to prove a lot of people wrong, and she's back with a vengeance, and she wants it. And I think from a scoring standpoint alone, these two are going to light up a lot of teams. They're going to light up a lot of scoreboards. And not to mention the fact that obviously they have NECA. I think the two of them together being able to play a lot more freely in the mid-range and from the three-point line because of NECA's presence down low, I think is also what's most exciting about them and why I think that they are the 5th best duo in the WNBA. Now, to your point, Skylar Diggins-Smith and Jewel Lloyd haven't officially played together yet. Satu is hurt, which is why I said earlier, if you take those out, then our list is the exact same with the name that we have on it, just moved around a bit differently. But that's my 5.
Yeah, so a lot of pretty much the same. Yeah, a little different order, but pretty much the same. I do expect Skylar and Jewel to be a top duo. It's like, again, with them, it's like another thing where maybe Skylar and NECA become the duo, or Jewel and NECA are the duo, but that backcourt, you certainly look at them, their history, Notre Dame and all that, like you expect them to be like a top backcourt in the league. So no, for sure. I'm looking forward to that.
Let's keep the ranking going. Let's talk about some players, man. Top 10 players in the WNBA.
Ooh, this is where things should get very interesting, my friend. Right. Very interesting. I think the top 3 are pretty much known, right? I mean, top 2 are definitely known. We know the top 2 are Asia and Stewie. And then I have Alyssa Thomas at 3.
As do I. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're on the same page in the top 3. Yeah. At 4, I have Jewel Lloyd.
As do I.
At 5, I have Nafisa Collier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Based on last season,
big.
I'm putting, she's a top 5 player to me right now, based on last season. Yeah. I had to give that to her.
That's valid, bro.
Yeah, I had to give that to her.
That's valid, bro.
Where did you go at 5?
Chelsea Gray.
Okay, you started with the aces. Yeah. Okay. I have Chelsea Gray at 6.
Fair. That's fair.
Who do you have at 6?
Jonquel Jones.
Oh, Jonquel didn't make my 10, bro.
Really? That's fair though. No, that's fair. That's
I struggled with it.
Yeah. So now I'm going to be interested to see who's in your 10 and who's not.
Well, the Las Vegas Aces take up about 30 spots out of 10.
No, that's fair. That's valid.
At 7, I have Jackie Young, and at 8, I have Kelsey Plum. So I have Chelsea, Jackie, Kelsey at 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have Nafisa at 7, and I have Jackie at 8.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I have Kalia Copper at 9.
She's not in my top 10.
I didn't think she would be, but she's a top 10 player for me.
She would, if we were going down to 15, she'd be in my top 15, but she did not make my top 10.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm giving her top 10 player. I think her and Jackie Young are the 2 best two-way players in the league right now. She was the top 10 scorer last year. Like I'm giving Ka top 10 right now.
She deserves all the love. She deserves all of the things. Yeah.
Who do you have at 9?
Arike.
I have Arike at 10.
Oh.
Ivory at 10. And that's who I was struggling with, her and John Quell at 10. And NECA kind of too, but Satu would have made it tough if she was healthy. I felt better leaving her off just because she's hurt. So yeah. Not that I'm glad she's hurt, definitely not. But yeah, that
Ryan Howard
is a little easier.
Ryan Howard is my 10.
I'm glad that you put Ryan Howard at 10, and because I'm just gonna say something about Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard, she's next on my list of who I'm watching for this season.
Yep.
Ryan Howard, you need to dominate the league this year. You need to make up your mind and stop playing around with these girls and dominate the WNBA. I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know. You have absolutely everything. If anyone's not familiar with Ryan Howard on the Atlanta Dream, all you have to do is start watching her play basketball. Ryan Howard should be, talent-wise, she pound for pound, she's top 5 in the league. She's one of the top players in the league. She might be all around the most talented player in the league, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Yo, Ryan Howard should be dominating. There should be no question of if she's top 10 or not. Like, that's why I'm like frustrated because I was working on my list and I'm like, I have Ryan at the top, but at the bottom, I'm like, yo, am I gonna be able to sneak her in? I'm like, do I think she's one of the top 10 most talented players? Absolutely, but I couldn't put her in there. I didn't have, and I'm like, why am I even questioning it? But talent wise, I still, again, it shouldn't be a question. That should, and I'm sorry, but that's on her. Like, I need her to not make that even a question right now. I need that from her.
That's fair. But yeah, no, you know what it was? I looked at my top 10, and if Satu was healthy, Satu would have been the 10. And I'm okay with that. But Ryan Howard is a top 10 player in the league. I agree with you. She definitely has top 10 talent. I do think the way that the Dream are constructed now, with all that they've done, obviously they have Alicia Gray, they have Cheyenne Parker, they brought in Jordan Canada, right? They brought in Aerial Powers. I think you're gonna get what you're looking for out of Ryan Howard this season because I think she's gonna give it to us, and I'm very excited to watch Ryan Howard play basketball this year.
I want to see her dominate. I want to see her take games over. I've seen the talent and I know what she's capable of, what she can do. I don't know if it has to do with her environment, coaching staff, surroundings. I have no idea, but all I know is more people should know about Ryan Howard as a dominant force. People should be intimidated to have to go up against Ryan Howard on a weekly basis. That chick her talent is unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable.
Nuts.
And I feel bad to even that she's not even in my top 10. I can't believe I even had the audacity to be able to leave her out of a top 10. But it's like Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Kalia Copper. I'm going with Kalia Copper right now. I'm giving her that nod. So yeah, I don't know. I love Ryan Howard. I want to see her dominate because she can.
She certainly can. That's fair. Let's toss now from top 10 players to just players, teams you have an eye on this season. Just let's keep an eye on them. Who's Martin Sories, the basketball Jedi? Who is he keeping an eye on this year?
On my credentials out there, my title. No, I definitely, we were talking before. I'm looking at Minnesota, man. I think we should be looking at Minnesota. And last person on my list for tonight, Diamond Miller. If we see Diamond Miller take that leap, oh, there we go. Not unlike, okay, maybe you did kind of incite the force a little bit right now, because this just came to me. Just like what's happening in Minnesota on the NBA side with Anthony Edwards. They need to allow Diamond Miller to, and nothing against Nafisa because she is the best player on that team, rightfully so. But and again, you're almost looking at it's almost like a cat and ant thing with the two of them. But Diamond Miller has to be allowed to ascend. If Minnesota is going to make a run, it's because we're seeing Diamond Miller play at a high level and at a certain level. Maybe not, because like she's an alpha. She is an alpha. She's a winner. She's used to winning. She's only going to get stronger, better, more coordinated. Like there's no telling what her ceiling could actually be. She's already shown that she's really good. She can be really good in this league. So what we see next from her, what we see from Diamond Miller this year, in my opinion, is going to be directly linked to how well the Minnesota Lynx do. Nafisa showed us what she can do. I mean, they made it to the playoffs last year. Nafisa had a great year. They like you said, they picked up people. Diamond Miller, I'm telling you, if Diamond is taking that next step, that's where we'll see Minnesota. Just like we see the Timberwolves, we'll see the Lynx like, oh, okay, wait, Diamond Miller, like more people will start to pay attention. Like, wait, oh, wow, she's here. She's ready. Like I knowing her and having covered her since high school, she's from New Jersey. She'll be ready. She's preparing to do that and to be that. So just get ready. But I'm Minnesota's they're on that. They're trending that way. But I'm telling you, the key is going to be Diamond Miller.
I think that's fair. I have two sleeper teams for different reasons. The first one is the Sky.
I love it.
When Chaz Franklin was on the show, he talked about Marina Mabry, he talked about Dana Evans, he talked about Elizabeth Williams. You take that and you add Angel Reese, you add Camila Cardoso, obviously when she comes back from the shoulder, you add Coach Spoon, right? I mentioned earlier, Tech in preseason, didn't care. That's just the passion she has the game.
Right.
When you,
Kennedy Carter, did you,
bro? I don't care that it's preseason, bro. When you step on the floor with the runner-up from last season and beat them by almost 50, we got to be paying attention more. And you don't have your other rookie down low to play with. Like, we got to be paying. So the Sky, when we did tiers, when I did tiers last week, I had them on that Fountain of Youth tier, right? Because they're, for the most part, they're as I said, they're bringing into new young players that are going to hopefully revitalize the franchise and hopefully get them back to championship status. When you look at what they have in Chicago, that is a team that when we get to the end of the season could sneak in. I think they could.
Yeah.
I think if everything goes right, they could sneak in. Might not win a round, might not make a deep run, but if all things go well this season, if Angel is everything that we know that she can be, if Camilla is everything we know she could be in this season, if Marina Mabry is going to be the breakout player of the year, as Chaz Franklin said on the show a couple months ago, like if all those things are true, and we know that Spoon's bringing that heat, we know that she's going to bring that energy, they can sneak in. And I think they're a sleeper team for that reason. The other team is the Mystics. And the reason why I think the Mystics are a sleeper team is because as we all know at this point, Elena Delle Donne taking a year off from basketball. So they don't have their best player, right? I do still feel really good about this basketball team. I still feel really good about Shakira Austin. I think she's going to have a great year 3, right? I thought she was primed for a great year 2, but she had the hip injury and it kind of, stunted her progress. But I think that she's back. She's healthy. She's better. I think she's going to have a great year 3. You're bringing in Leah Edwards. This is one of those teams, one of your favorite players, Brittany Sykes. Like, this is a really, I know they've lost Natasha Cloud. So, like, there's a lot of things about this team where, like, not a lot of people looking at them. And again, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but I do think that they could surprise some people. I do think that they could win more games than maybe they're expecting. I do think that they could, remain a competitive basketball team because they have really good players. They have really good talent on this team. They have the defense and I think they're going to, there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to have to be some soul searching because now you're entering this season without 2 of your best players from last season, but I think they'll figure it out. And I think they can surprise some people. So the Mystics and the Sky are the 2 teams for different reasons, obviously, that I'm looking at. I'm like, we should keep an eye on those two teams this year.
Yeah. No, I think Chicago can shake things up in the East. I think they're the one team that people aren't really looking for because, like, they're again one of the younger teams. Yep. May not have too many heavy hitters on their roster, but like I said on my show about what I expected from Angel and Chicago and what she could do in her first year, I don't think they drafted her to be the number 1 option to be the star player. I don't even think Teresa Weatherspoon coaches basketball that way. They're going to do it by committee. I mentioned Kennedy Carter because one of the biggest takeaways I had from watching them in that Liberty game was Kennedy Carter is another capable scoring guard that they have on that roster to add to Marina Mabry, who's been lighting it up and cooking in preseason. She looks ready to go. And Dana Evans. So if they're going to have this combination of different guards who can score, make plays in Teresa Weatherspoon's system and have capable running, scoring, physical rebounding bigs, if they're going to be capable on offense and defense, Chicago is going to be, it might be better than people think, for sure.
I agree. And I do just want to say really quickly, we talked about big threes earlier and how some teams have big fours, right? The Storm is not a sleeper team. The Fever, I don't think, really are a sleeper team, right? I think there are people who expect the Storm to be championship contenders. I think they will be. There are people who think that with the addition of Caitlin Clark, the Fever could make the playoffs for the first time in a long time. I don't think either of those things are out of the ordinary or out of reason. I do know, and I've said this about both of these players before. Ezzy Magbagor in Seattle, Nalissa Smith in Indiana. I think the both of them are going to be keys to the ceiling of those teams, respectively, for what it is that they're looking for. When we talked about NECA going to Storm, one of the first things I said was Ezzy Magbagor had a great season last season defensively, and she was kind of turning up a bit offensively. She was an all-star last season. I think she'll be able to do even more of that because now it's not just NECA. You also have Skylar Diggins-Smith out there as well. She's going to get a lot more. She's going to get a lot more comfortable. Nalissa Smith, we've already seen it, bro. But Nalissa Smith, I think, those two teams aren't sleeper teams, but those two players specifically on those teams are definitely keys to helping them reach their respective whatever those goals are for this season. For the Fever, I think it's just making it to the playoffs, huge win. For the Storm, competing for a championship, huge win. Those two players will be key for both of those teams looking to get to those two things. I just wanted to throw that out there super quickly. Before we go and before we get out of here, we're going to stand by it, bro. It's time to stand on some business. Who is your MVP pick for this season? And who do you have going to and winning the finals this season?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it lazy, man. I think because the Aces are gonna win a ton of games. I think Asia is gonna get an MVP. And I don't know, man. Finals wise, we might just be in for. I remember saying it before at some point on the show, but it's like it could be another Warriors Cavs thing where we're getting a repeat of this finals matchup for at least a couple years. But I think New York is, the West has gotten more competitive. Like I look forward to seeing what Seattle and Phoenix can add to the competition of the West. And but teams are obviously we got to get a conference playoff before we can think of it that way. But still, like we have a couple more competitive teams. Yeah, it's coming soon. But man, I don't know. I think the Liberty and the Aces are still the two best teams, and we're probably looking at, unless like Phoenix, again, I really look forward to seeing what Phoenix has, what they're doing, how they look, how people are flourishing, because that is the formula. Like I mentioned with Chicago, with the ability, like, and you brought it up, and it has to come up anytime you talk about like competing with the Aces, competing for a championship. Like you've got to have 3 or 4 really good players, preferably if at least 2 or 3 of those are guards, to match up with what the Aces have. So like, again, Chicago watching them and seeing that they have multiple like good guards, it's like, wow, that's a great start. At the very least, you need to have that, right? So I still don't see like Phoenix, again, you got, Natasha Cloud, Kalia Copper, Diana Taurasi. You all right?
Somebody just got outside, dog.
Oh man!
I don't know if you heard that or not, but somebody just got outside.
I'm glad. I'm glad you're all right.
Jeez, I'm so sorry. Just got
all right, man. I didn't hear anything. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm glad, but they.
Oh man. Damn.
Okay, that's crazy. I'm sorry.
That's rough. That's real life, man. That's real life.
I didn't mean to derail your thing right there, but yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's real life, bro. I mean, that's
Jesus Christ. All right. I'm sorry. My bad. That's my bad. That's on me. You were talking though about the sky and how they've got like they have the guards and their ones, they have
yeah.
the
Well, yeah, Phoenix, I was saying, Phoenix with their big four, they've got
yeah.
the woman power. So does Seattle. So it's just kind of seeing like, okay, do we have some real opposition for what Vegas has, just pound for pound.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should be interesting because it's just like the depth of talent that essentially you're looking for.
I have the Aces and the Storm in the finals just because we don't have the conference playoff yet. It's possible that can happen. I do think that can happen.
Yeah.
I do think if there's one team that can stop the Liberty, because you're right. I think in the East, the Liberty kind of have it, but we're not there yet where it's just make it out of the East, right? That we're not there.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that too.
So,
like it sucks to have to make predictions and you just
Yeah.
just pick two teams, like just the two best teams. I guess is really what you have to go with.
I think as the season goes on, and I think especially when we get the playoff time, I do think that if we see the Storm and the Liberty in a series, I do think the Storm can win that series. A lot of has to do with what we were talking about earlier with Sabrina, right? But also because you're talking about Jewel Lloyd, you're talking about NECA, you're talking about Skylar Diggins-Smith. These are three players vets with they've been through they've done all of the things basically. And so I think the Storm made the finals. I do have the Aces winning that series. My MVP though. This was tough because I wanted to just write Asia Wilson and just be like, whatever. But then I started thinking, I'm going to be honest, a lot of my thought process for MVP had a lot to do with what you were saying earlier. When I look at the Atlanta Dream and I look at Alicia Gray, I look at Cheyenne Parker, I look at, again, they brought in Jordan Canada. They're bringing in Aerial Powers. They just traded for Crystal Dangerfield a week ago. I think this is a playoff team for sure. They were there last season. But I think this team can make a run at it. Might not make to the finals, but they can definitely make a run to like the WNBA, what they call this, the WNBA semifinals, right? My MVP for this year is Ryan Howard. I think this is the year. I think this is the year that everything that you just asked for maybe 20, 30 minutes ago earlier on the show, I think we're getting it. I think Ryan Howard has everything that she needs around her to unleash the beast. And I think I would like to see her do it. I think she can do it. And I'm going to be honest. I think it's going to take I think if the Dream are second in the East, which I think is very possible for them considering the talent. If they're second in the East, they're likely going to be a top 4 team in the league. I think that's enough for Ryan Howard to be MVP. So Ryan Howard is my MVP pick because I think because for me, my big thing has been it's been like Atlanta and Dallas have been on the same. They've been step by step to me for the past couple seasons because they've been making the same move. But I think the one thing that Atlanta has had in their advantage that Dallas hasn't, unfortunately, is Dallas has been riddled with injuries for a lot of different players. But also, I think that Atlanta this offseason specifically just made a little bit more. They did a little bit more in this offseason to get them one step closer to being competitive. So now we're looking at a team that can potentially make a deep run at the playoffs. And they have a player in Ryan Howard who I think is top 10. You think she's pound for pound one of the best. At the very least, she's top 10 talent-wise. I think there's everything built around Ryan Howard for Ryan Howard to win her first MVP award this season. So she's my MVP pick. It might be a bit of a stretch, but she's my MVP pick, and I'm willing to put my name on that.
She better toughen up, man. She's got to toughen up because if they're going to be the second best team over Connecticut, she's going to have to out tough Connecticut, and that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Like it's time for her to stop playing around and be, because she's special. Like for her to be one of the most special perimeter talents in the league. Yeah, it's time for people to start recognizing. So yeah, unleash that thing, man.
Please unleash the beast. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We greatly appreciate the likes, the comments, the conversation, the engagement. We love it. We want to see more of it. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free, as always, drop a like. If you're watching this after the fact, comment, Follow us on Instagram at protectourqueens_. The season is here, bro. We're a couple of sleeps. It's crazy. We're a couple of sleeps away from the beginning of the WNBA season. I'm pumped. Martin's pumped. I know a lot of you guys are there pumped as well. So make sure you guys are tapped in with us throughout the course of WNBA season for all things related to women's basketball. Because as Martin said at the top of the show, if you don't like women's basketball, then this is not the place for you. So for my guy, Martin Soares, this is Marcus of Protect Our Queens. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you guys go enjoy yourselves some women's basketball.